Hey everyone, welcome to the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte, Season 1, Episode 57. I'm your host, Millie Rouge, from the band Vienna Whyte here in Edmonton, Canada. This Roundtable is a Yeg Music production. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host for today, Marissa K., who makes up the other half of our band, Vienna Whyte. How are you doing today, Marissa?
I'm doing good.
Glad to hear. And our other guest for today is Micaela. She is from Cape Town, South Africa. So we welcome you to the show today, Micaela.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have you on today. It's going to be lots of fun. Yeah. So my first question, I know for you, Micaela, it's later at night. It's not early. Like for us, it's 11 a.m. here. So how has your day been going so far? Your day's almost done, but
Yeah, it's like 7:30 right now, and it's quite cold today. It's been a relatively quiet day because I'm in lockdown, so it's not like I can do much.
Right.
But I've just been like writing today quite a bit. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. And I heard you guys are going through your winter right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, winter hits really hard.
Yeah.
It's like crazy. One day it was super hot, and then the next day I was freezing. So yeah, there was no lead in.
No consistency.
It just happened.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funny things about Canada is like when winter's here, it's here to stay for a while.
No.
So it's like you don't get those weird ups and downs. I feel like that'd be such a hard climate to live in. It's like one day it's hot, and the next day it's freezing. It's like
Cape Town is insane when it comes to weather. It's like I always say there's 4 different seasons in one day.
Yeah.
Because it's the worst. But anyway.
Yeah, that's incredible. We kind of really only have 2 seasons. It's either winter season or it's construction season, as we say. Because the summer, when we have sun, people are like, rip the roads apart, make new buildings. It's warm,
they're like,
finally.
We need to repair the roads that got cracked during the winter. And
It's a never-ending cycle.
No,
awesome.
Construction happens every season,
Yeah, I can imagine for sure. So I want to hear more about you guys. I want to kind of hear about your musical journey. So Micaela, can you kind of take us through how you started with music and kind of where you're at with it today and how that journey's been for you?
Yeah, well, I've been singing my entire life. It's like the cliche musician story. I've been singing. I grew up in church, sang in church, did all those things, and then I only started taking it seriously in high school. And when I matriculated, when I graduated, I don't know what you guys call it, but when I matriculated, it started kicking off because I went to South African Idols. Ooh. And then I made it through to theater week, and you know when you're young, you're naive and you're not like ready yet. So I didn't make it further than theater week, but it was a good catalyst to the rest of my career. And so far it's been a steady build, you know. It's good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've been good, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What that experience was like on that show? Like, was it a TV show or was it just a contest?
Yeah, it's like you know, American Idols.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So it's like South African.
Oh, just the same
South
thing.
African, yeah, it's the exact same thing. It's just the
Cool.
South African version of it.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I think I was 19 at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's incredible.
It was a culture shock.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I learned a lot from it. And a lot of things that I know now about the industry, I learned while being there in that short period of time. So I'm happy that I did it. And it also created more opportunities for me.
Absolutely,
so, yeah, it's been great.
It's incredible. I have a quick question because I actually had someone I know that they were on, I think it was like the UK version of like UK's Got Talent, I think, or something, or I don't know. Anyway, something like that. But he said he enjoyed the experience, but he said that he found because it was a TV show, they really amp up on the sob stories. Like if you have one minor inconvenience in your life, like if you're like, my cat died when I was 10, they're like, tell us more about it. How did
There's
it
like the
affect your life?"
strings and it's all sad, and then they have those
Yeah, the
contemplative shots
orchestra.
where they're like sitting by
Yeah.
the pier and their feet are hanging over and
Yeah.
they look all sad. Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
just want to
no.
know, did you kind of have an experience like that, or do you think your show was different?
No, it was definitely like that.
Okay.
They were probing a lot for, life stories and stuff.
Right. Okay.
That's because it's a reality show, I guess.
TV. Yeah.
I was very like, when I went into it, I kind of told myself before going that I wasn't gonna share a sob story or like
Yeah.
share any of my hardships in life, because I
Right.
didn't want to make it because of
Because of
the,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't want
So
that to be your whole story, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't want
Exactly.
that to define me if I made it any further into the competition, So
Exactly.
it was definitely like that, but I was very much closed off
Yeah.
to speaking about my personal life. So
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, like, intrusive thing for like the whole
yeah,
South African viewers to see. It's
exactly.
like, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get that it's TV, but it's
Yeah,
also like, this is a part of my life. Like, I don't even share this with like my colleagues. Like, who thinks I'm going to
Yeah.
share some random stranger?
Well, actually,
Yeah.
it's funny that you bring that up too, because there was a show in Canada. It was like this new show. I forget the name of
The
it, what it was
launch?
called. The Launch. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I had like sent in an application for it, and one of the questions on the application was, what obstacles did you have to overcome to get to your music career? And I was like, none. I had a very supportive family. They like, and it almost made me feel like I had to make up a story just to
Yeah.
get noticed. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's so backwards. Like, it's
Yeah.
so messed up.
Yeah. I was a part of almost a part of another competition. I won't say the name, but it was the same thing. In the application, they asked me to share a story that happened to me and like that influenced my musical career and stuff like that. And then I didn't really share anything because same thing, I didn't want to
Yeah, expose it.
yeah, and then I made it through a few rounds, and then they kept asking me if I have a sob story, if I have a story to tell, because I haven't like really opened up to them and stuff. And I was like, well, no, I'm good. I've been very stubborn when it came to those things. So, yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I think that's the one thing that would really hold me back from doing shows like that. And I mean, still, like you said, Micaela, like you got amazing opportunities from it. So it's definitely worth it. It's just, you kind of have to go through that to get to the good part, right? So thank you so much though for sharing about that. I wanted to kind of know more about an insight about that. So it's really awesome to hear and learn about that. So now that we kind of talked about where we kind of stemmed from and where we came from in our music, I want to talk about our topic of the day, which I think will actually be kind of very fitting for what we were just chatting about. So the topic is goal setting as musicians. This is a really important thing, I think, in my opinion, to really kind of boost and get your career going. So my question to the both of you that I'm going to open up, can you talk about why you think it's important to set goals? What is the reasoning of why it's important to you to set goals in your music career? Whoever wants to just jump into it first, feel free.
Well, I think for me it's really important because it's good to know where you're going so that you're not just doing things and going with the flow and going through the motions. It's important to know what you're working towards,
Right.
and goals. Setting goals for yourself is a very good way of that, and it's also a good way to gauge where you are at with regards to success and what that means to you in your career. So yeah, I think for me it's really important. I try to make a point of setting goals for myself, even if it's just like little ones.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to become complacent and lose the passion for what I'm doing because I'm not seeing anything happen.
Right.
Oh,
No
yeah.
results. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's easy to kind of forget your passion for it. And I mean, I'm not the only musician to ever become jaded after working on music for so many years. you know, oftentimes when you're working really hard and you're setting these goals and you're trying to work towards this, you know, big giant goal of like, okay, I want to be famous one day or whatever is your goal. But it's very easy to lose your passion for music of like, and it's easy to forget why you got into it in the first place.
Right.
So I definitely agree that like setting little goals like that is helpful to just kind of like keep you on it without overburdening yourself or burning yourself out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think as crappy as it sounds to say, I think we all kind of have to go through that. Like we have to put these really big expectations on ourselves because we're like, this is so exciting. And then it kind of humbles you to be like, okay, you got to chill a little bit. Like, like what you're dreaming of is like, it's great, but like, and it could happen, but it's just like, you got to build the steps to get there. Right. So I 100% agree that it's like small goals are good. Yeah, exactly. It's not an overnight thing. It never, I mean, for some people, I think like TikTok stars that go viral, like that's like a very rare case, you know, and it happens once in a blue moon for people, but it's not the regular for everyone, right? So it's tough. It's really tough. I agree.
I mean, like growing up, I also like set these unrealistic goals for myself. And I like was genuinely upset that I reached like a certain age and I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it's the most ridiculous goal, but I said for myself that now looking back, it's like, what were you thinking? Like, why did you think that was gonna happen? That literally happens to like 1 out of thousands of people, 1 person out of thousands of people. So it's good to just humble yourself.
Totally.
Oh yeah. Well,
absolutely.
and I mean, to be completely fair, I think 5 years ago when anyone asked us, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't think any of us were like sitting at home for 4 months and like a global pandemic. There's fires in Australia. There's all these things going on. I don't think any of us would have predicted that. So
I mean, if somebody asked me this like 5 months ago, I would have been like, "No, you're crazy."
And now we're just like, yeah, whatever. It's the new thing, whatever.
Aliens became a thing, and it was barely news. Like,
I agree. I'm curious to know between the two of you, what was the biggest goal you ever set for yourself, and have you accomplished it yet, or is it still in the works? I'm trying to even think of what my biggest goal is, and I don't know. It's tough.
That's so tough. I think one of my goals that I set that I still haven't achieved yet was touring across Canada and Europe. Would be really cool, but I've yet to do that. So that's kind of like a huge goal, but I don't think it's unattainable. I think it's just you have to do a lot of work beforehand and
do well.
And I think that with a big goal similar to that or something along those lines, it's like it's all this, you don't understand the work that goes into until you're actually sitting down and you're in it and you're like, oh God, okay, this thing that I thought was going to take 2 weeks is actually going to take like 2 years. And
Yep. How about you, Micaela?
For me, I've always had a goal since I started music, to be in the States or be in the UK with my music and stuff. And I have not yet achieved it, but I'm still making moves and it looks like it might be attainable in the future. So, you know, we're still working towards it, but it's not an impossible goal, you know?
So is your goal kind of to tour to the States and the UK, or do you just want to kind of get your music played more in those areas?
Both.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
I want it all.
Absolutely.
Well, I was gonna say if you ever wanted to come down to Canada, we'll hook you up with some some gigs.
And I'll be honest with you, Canada is literally my dream place to live.
Yay!
Like, in all honesty, I would be there in a heartbeat if I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might just take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, I'm moving in. Okay, I got my
I wanna-
bags.
Dude,
Not
I
any more than
wanna
me.
have like a giant concert when all this is over and we're allowed to gather safely again. I want to have a
Yeah.
giant concert. I want to invite everybody that we've ever had on a round table and an Instagram. Just like everybody come down to Canada.
Oh,
We're all gonna have a great big party.
We're gonna
that would
rent
be
a huge house. We're gonna have a party.
Yes.
I'm kidding. I don't have that kind of money, but it's a
nice,
pipe dream. That's awesome to hear that you're on your way to your goal. And I think, Marissa, even the Canadian tour goal, that's really achievable. And
Yeah.
like you said, it does take time though, because you want to do it. You don't want to do it crappy and then be like, well, I lost $5,000. You want to do it efficiently, which I think is a really good goal to set for yourself too. I'm curious to know what keeps you both motivated to keep your goals. So what's kind of the motivation behind your goal setting that helps you to keep chugging along and doing well with your goals?
Mm.
I don't think that I ever needed like outside sources to keep myself motivated, because I think I've always just been very passionate about music, and music has always just been it for me.
Yeah.
So like even when I do get jaded or when I'm just like, oh, if this whole industry, I'm done. Like I'm gonna be mad for a few seconds and then be like, okay, but now shut up. You need to get back to what you need to do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's always just been it. Like I don't think I've ever been so jaded that I wanted to give up completely and forever. So I don't think that I really needed a lot of like outside things to motivate me.
That's awesome. No, that's really that's very impressive. I wish that was my life. I think I have a midlife crisis
that.
every 2 weeks.
And that's okay.
I think it also depends on like who you are as a person, right? Because you just kind of you grow up with different beliefs and different settings to kind of make you that way. So I think it just depends on the person. Marissa, what's kind of your experience? Do you have an opposite experience of Micaela, or do you agree with kind of what she's saying?
You being in a band and having other people being in a band and having other people to be accountable to has helped me stay focused on those goals. Like we talked about touring across Canada when, you know, I would love for us to go across Europe. Like we said, we want to go to Vienna, would be really cool. As our band's namesake. But yeah, I would, I think that for me, it's very easy for me to tell myself that, oh, it's okay. You don't have to do it. Like who's going to know? It's just me. Right. But when I'm in a band and other people are relying on me to do everything, I'm like, okay, I got to do this thing. Otherwise I'm going to be letting people down. And you know me, I am a textbook people pleaser and I hate to let anyone down or be disappointed in me or not like me. And I was like, I will do whatever I need to make you happy.
I mean, that's a good problem to have.
It's true. Sometimes.
Sometimes, it's not such a terrible thing.
Yeah. What would you say, Marissa's like the negative parts of that kind of that mindset? What does it kind of do for you that's harming you sometimes?
Well, I think the negative parts of that kind of mindset is sometimes stretching myself too thin and not giving myself the space to recharge and do things for me. So when I do, because when I do things for me, I feel guilty and I feel like I should be doing work or I should be doing something else when really it's just me kind of refilling my cup kind of thing. So sometimes that can be dangerous. It can be a dangerous behavior to kind of get yourself into because then it's very hard for you to say no. That would be the only negative thing I'd say. So, you know, when Micaela, when you say that you're very self-motivated and you keep yourself accountable, I'm like, that's incredible. And that's something that I'm striving towards myself.
Goals,
I think that's incredible that you're able to do that.
I think I've just always been lucky because anything else in my life that I become passionate about, for a few months or something, or for a few years.
Oh yeah, we've been there. We've all been there before. Yeah,
it's very easy for me to need outside motivations and stuff. So I think it's just specific to music for me, because like I said, it's just always. I've never seen myself not doing music. So when I have thoughts of, maybe I just shouldn't do this, maybe I should just give up. Like it literally, like I
Yeah.
stare at myself, you know.
Yeah.
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 I love
So
that.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
very important to me.
It's tough, I think, and I myself, I'm like you, Micaela. Like I say to myself, I'm like, I could just never see myself not doing this. Like I've done it for so long, first of all, so it's like, what a waste if you don't try.
Yeah,
But it's
same.
just like, I feel like I can't imagine myself doing anything else. Like
Yeah.
I do have different passions. Like I work with a lot of kids, and like I love kids in that sense, but I'm like, I still am so passionate about music, and like I can't let that go because I need to do it. Like I can't not do it. Right. So I think that's really what sets someone from being like the musician to being just like, oh, it's a hobby. Like I like doing
Yeah,
it. Right. So it's
I
important
get
to distinguish between that.
yeah.
I want to know what you guys do when you do fail a goal. If you ever have failed a goal, what's kind of your coping mechanism to kind of dust your shoulders off? Dust your shoulders off? Does that make sense? Yeah. Dust your
Yeah.
shoulders off and then keep going. What's kind of like your next steps when you do fail a goal or something doesn't go as planned for you guys? What's your steps you take?
I try to face it, and I just, for me, the biggest thing for me is I have to tell myself that it's okay to fail
Yeah.
sometimes. Because like a lot of the time failure for me is not an option. It's like, if I fail, that means I am bad. I am bad and bad. So for me, it's actually turning around and looking myself in the mirror and being like, hey, you failed. It's okay. Just keep going. That's the biggest thing for me. And sometimes I need that from outside people, but just understanding that failing is just a part of growing, and it's a part of being successful, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. And that's just something that you have to understand, and you have to accept that things aren't always going to go the way that you plan them to go. But yeah, so it's forgiving myself is the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've failed quite a bit in my career, but like as the same with you, like Marissa, I always face it head on. I feel the feelings. I feel the feelings of failure.
Yeah.
Um, I have this tendency to beat myself up a lot about the smallest thing because I'm my worst critic. Like I don't really care what other people think about me, but I care what I think about me. So I have this tendency to beat myself up a lot. So I always just need to remind myself, like you said, it's okay to fail, and I just need to get back up again and just do it again. So yeah, that's usually how I cope with it. If I fail with something in music, I just keep singing, and I keep looking for gigs and keep looking for things to do in the music industry, and just to kind of distract from the failure so that I can just keep moving forward, you know? So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of like when people say you go through, this is like a funny comparison, when you go through a breakup and people are like, just keep yourself distracted, talk to your friends, go hang out with them. Like it's kind of the same idea. Like just, it doesn't matter. Just push it past, you keep going.
Keep going. You'll be fine eventually.
You're like,
but then
I'm
they
gonna
also
cry while I'm
say,
doing it, but it's fine.
they
I'm
also say
fine.
with breakups though, like to feel it for a couple days, 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
eat your ice cream, cry in your bed, but then, distract yourself. So I think, like you said, it, like Marissa, good to keep feeling it, but then it's also important, like Micaela said, to just keep rolling, right?
Yeah,
Just
not to wallow in it.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's when things get dark.
Exactly. I want to ask this question: as a musician, where do you guys see yourselves in 10 years from now? What are when you picture it in your mind and your brain, where do you see yourself?
Stepping out of the house for the first time. I'm kidding.
That's perfect. Great goal.
Oh, that's a goal we all should be having.
Yeah.
For me, I definitely see myself branching out of South Africa and working towards being an international artist. Um, yeah, in 10 years, that feels like a long time from now, but also time passes so quickly. So, the way I feel right now, I definitely see myself being an international artist and just like navigating in that space. I don't see myself living in Cape Town. So I don't know. Yeah. I haven't really thought about it really. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
that's some pretty good goals to start already with.
Yeah.
Marissa, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar of just kind of not living in Canada for a bit. Just, you know, being I know a lot of friends who've lived in different places. Like they're like, oh, I'm from Ontario, I'm from England, I lived in Scotland for a bit, I went
Yeah.
to Thailand, and I was like, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I've been here for 26 years, so pretty ready to live in a new
Totally.
place for a little bit. So I would love that. Like you and I, Millie, have talked about living in California or moving to Toronto or something together as a band,
so
which could be
cool.
really cool. And yeah, I see us, you know, kind of being, kind of similarly to what Micaela was saying, was just kind of being a little bit more international and having more success in our career than we do now. Also in our solo careers as well, in my solo career. I would love to have Vienna Whyte have released a bunch of albums by then and played a bunch of shows and toured, and, you know, been able to tour just internationally and then have both of us release our own albums and tour with those albums together. And that'll be really cool. Yeah.
That'd be so fun. I can't wait to be old. It's going to be great.
Sounds like fun.
It gets me excited for the next 10 years. Usually if I think about the next 10 years, I freak out. But when I talk about music, it gets me excited about the next 10 years.
Absolutely. I want to know, for our last question here, what advice would you give to an artist about goal setting? If they were kind of like, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to set goals, what advice would you give them carrying forward?
I think that it's just important to know, to figure out what you want out of this journey. That's kind of the first step, and then taking it from there. So like, make a pros and cons list. I don't know. Like, just figure out what are you doing music for? Like, are you doing it because you just enjoy it and it's a hobby? Are you doing it because you want to be an international artist? Are you doing it because you just want to sing or want to do music every day? You know, why are you doing it? And then set goals based on that. I think is probably the best.
Absolutely.
I'd completely agree with that too. I'd say in addition to that as well, I would say do everything that Micaela said, for sure. That's like the first thing you should do, 100%. Because if you don't know why you're doing, it's like, why am I doing this thing? I don't know.
Exactly.
Then you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be stuck in the same spot treading water. But I think the second thing that you should think about is whenever you're setting a goal, you should think about it realistically and like, how much work is this going to take? So for example, if you're like, okay, so I want to be able to play live gigs in a couple months. So it's like, okay, I want to be able to, okay, that means I have to write songs if I don't have songs written already. That means if I don't have an instrument, I got to buy an instrument. I have to learn how to play it. And I have to do it comfortably. And then I have to call these venues, and like the list piles up. So like, you have to think realistically, start off with, if that seems like too much, then start off with, okay, first thing I'm going to do is just buy an instrument. So I'm going to work as much as I need to save up to buy an instrument. Then after that, you can be like, okay, what's the next step? And just like follow the steps and like follow through with your decisions and like follow through with all the work that you need to do.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually our last question of the day. We are out of time, but we're so lucky to have had you both on. If you guys are at home watching the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. We post 2 shows every day, Monday to Friday, so there's lots of content to watch. If you want to hear this conversation on Spotify, search up the Vienna Whyte podcast, and you will find us there.
White with a Y, by the way.
Yes, White with a Y. Also, Marissa, I want to thank you for being our co-host for today. Marissa, where can you find our band on the internet?
You can find us at Vienna Whyte, Vienna like the city, White with a Y, like White Avenue here in Edmonton. Vienna Whyte on Instagram. You can find us www.viennawhyte.com.
Awesome. And Micaela, can we get your name again and where our audience can find you on social media?
Yes, I'm Micaela Klein-Smith, and you can follow my social media at Micaela_music_ on all platforms. And that's like Micaela, Micaela, because a lot of people spell it wrong for some reason. Like Micaela. Yeah. So yeah, you can follow me on all platforms, or you can just search my full name. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was great to meet you, Micaela. I hope everyone has a great day. Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yay.
Have a
Yes,
lovely
definitely.
day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.